I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's after 7 o'clock. Any public participation? None in the office?
No, none online.
Monitor. Very good. We'll move into the budgets. And I know we have, insurance budgets. John is here to go over those with us. And John first, you first. Kevin, how do you want to handle it?
I'll do a quick overview, then turn it over to John.
Great, go ahead.
Okay, first budget, general insurance, recommending a increase in this budget for next year, $36,700. This increase breaks down $34,000 for the tax levy portion of the budget, $1,600 to the water division, $1,100 to the sewer division. This budget covers the town's buildings, motor vehicles, professional liability, and cybersecurity. Total budget request for fiscal 25, $559,425, with $514,925 coming from tax levy, $28,000 coming from the water enterprise, and $16,500 from the sewer enterprise.
Okay, so excuse me, John, total change was 7%, is that right?
That's what the little old said.
Yeah, a little over 7%. Yep. So John, just introduce yourself. I don't know if everybody knows you, please, if you would.
Yeah, I'm John Spinella with the Hartron Curley Insurance Agency.
Thank you.
And yes, it is 7%. It's 5.5% over expiring premiums. In the insurance industry, we work off expiring premiums rather than, obviously budgets here. So, property continues to be a problem in the insurance industry. If you looked at the schedule that I sent out, I included 3 years of premiums on there for all lines. And you'll see that almost all the lines are relatively flat. It's all due to paying for the property insurance. We are definitely in a hard market with property across the country. A hard market, you would look at higher reinsurance costs, higher insurance costs, restrictions of coverage. On borderlines accounts, you would probably see non-renewals. And you're seeing catastrophic losses, obviously, across the country, but you're seeing carriers pull out of states, California, Florida. Some are restricting their amount of business they do in certain states. Although it doesn't have a direct effect on us, at least it hasn't up till now, it has an effect on our reinsurance costs. So when you have that, you have to navigate through it. So you do that by either high deductibles or self-insuring where you didn't self-insure before. To me, I focus on the rate. What is our fire rate? And for many years, for a long, long time, our rate was 3 cents per $100. And so 3 cents on $300 million, which is what we have for insurable value, is about $90,000. And that policy was just one of the normal policies we have in our schedule. Now it represents half of our premium. In 2018, that rate was around 6.25. Had we taken the renewal offer from the carrier, it would have been over 9 cents. So 9 cents on 300 million is 270,000. So you can see how since 2018, our rate has basically gone up 50%. So that's what I focus on because I still believe that property is going to go higher. Matter of fact, in the last quarter of 23, rates have increased 11%. You probably see that in your homeowners. So last year, after all the budget hearings we had last year, it's time for the application season. But at that time, on heavy property accounts, which we are one, they were seeing 10 to 20% increases. So I kind of floated the idea, or Steve and I talked about going from a $75,000 deductible to $250,000. I didn't tell the carrier that. So we filled out the applications and they actually came back to us first and gave us 3 options for our property and said, we cannot give you any more than $300 million. So 2 of them were non-starters for us. We just weren't going to do that. The other one was they're going to give us $250 million of blanket building coverage, which really didn't affect us too much because we don't have a building over 150 anyway. So I put the high school in one category and the junior high in the other, and I worked my way down. And because I was increasing the deductible anyway, and I kind of ran out of room, I had to eliminate 3 locations, 2 at the Forest Glade Cemetery, and then the concession stand at the high school. So they came back and gave us a price of about $278,000 or something like that. That's when I asked them for the 250 deductible. When I say 250, I mean 250,000.
Right.
They came back and said, we don't have a filing for 250 on all perils because no town has asked for that before. They said, we can give you 100 on all perils other than wind, which wind doesn't really bother me all that much. I said, okay, I'll take that. And they reduced it by about 18.5. 18.5 in this budget is 3.5, right? And if the national average was 10 to 20 and we're on the low end, we would have been up around 9.5. So I think we did well saving 18.5, considering we went from 75 to $100,000 in the deductible. So, 250 is a lot of money, but our loss history supports it. We haven't had an insurable loss in over 30 years since we've been in this program. And looking forward, in 3 years, this 300 million is going to look a lot more like 450 or 475 when the new high school comes online. So I'd rather be early than late on this. There are other options. You can take a percentage deductible. I don't like it as much. Like a 2% deductible, for instance, would give the lower valued buildings kind of a break, like a Hartshorn house at 700,000. A 2% deductible will only be 14,000, but on the high school it'd be $1.6 million. So you have to balance it out, and I don't know really where that's going to go. And we never really know until May when we throw everything on the table and kind of figure out the course we're going to take between Steve, Kevin, and myself. So it's really early, but that's why I say you have to navigate through this property hard market, and I think it's going to continue. I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. So other than that, that's about all I have on property. If there's anything else in that schedule, I'll be glad to answer it for you.
Okay, Doug Butler is also here in the room that you can't see, so just so you know. Questions from the group? Let's see any hand up on the monitor.
I have a question. I'm having a hard time finding my hand, if you can. Just bear with me. Let me go back to the worksheets, John. So the public safety building is, when the worksheet is 13,397,585. I'm reading this right?
You are.
And the Greenwood School is, just $1 million, not even $1 million less. So that kind of surprises me a little. I'm not challenging you. I'm just kind of curious about it. And then, so that surprises me. And then I just intuitively, but maybe not, I was going to ask about the contents, but the contents are mentioned here. I was thinking with all the fire equipment, police equipment, vehicles and everything, that there wouldn't be a more sizable disparity between those two. Those just jump off the page at me because they seems even like Walton School, that Walton would be even that close to the valuation of the public safety building. I'm sure I could keep going here, but can you just comment on that a little, please?
Yeah, sure can. Yeah, I didn't really even increase the public safety building even after the recent change that they had. So, one way that they came back and said, you want to take these buildings and insure them separately. I said, no, I don't want to do that. Okay. Do you want to insure them? We'll give you 100% replacement costs, but insure them separately. I said, no, I don't want to do that. We have what's called blanket building and contents. Okay. And they take the building and they automatically do a percentage for the contents. So right now we have $300 million. Well, I shouldn't say that. We have $150 million in 2 separate categories. So let's just take the high school, for instance. We have $80,000 on it. I know that's not even what we have on it. We have $150 million on that one school if we want it. So the blanket building contents bill gives you the full amount of coverage. we just we give this to the company and say, this is what we think the values are. I know the high school right now, it's 266,000 square feet, even at $400 a square foot. What we have in the statement of values isn't enough. But they didn't challenge me on it, and I'm not gonna even bring it up to them, because I know I'm sitting there with $150 million. I can take, you'd have a problem if you had more than one location. So even if we go back to the way we were a year ago at $300 million, we have $300 million on any one building that we want, minus the deductible. If we had two buildings go at the same time, we'd still have $300 million, no matter what the replacement cost was. This is just a guide for the company and a guide for us. So even though I have it down there, it doesn't necessarily, that we're not limited to that amount, I guess is what I'm saying. Even though it says 80,000 for the high school, if the high school was 120, that's what would get paid, because they don't care. We have $150 million of coverage right now on any one building on contents.
I just didn't know if those valuations, you know, God forbid anything happen, would be subjected to scrutiny that you know.
We sign it, we send it back, and last year they actually increased a couple buildings on us, and that brought us over the 300 million. I kind of closed my eyes when I submitted every year because I don't come back and say, you know, this high school really could use a little bit more on it, but that's on them. You know, they accept it, and they give us the blanket building, and I sit there and say, okay, well, I know the high school needs more on it, you know, so you can't get away with it. Okay, when we go to put the new high school on, because we know what the replacement cost is, and we're going to give it to them. It's going to be $240 million, whatever that number is going to be. We'll take the present one off and put the new one on. You kind of can't hide that. And I couldn't even do it on the Walton School because we just put $5 million on that too. So
okay, thank you.
I'm comfortable with where we are.
Okay, appreciate your feedback. Thank you.
Yep.
We're good. I don't see any other hands. Anybody else on the general insurance? Very good. Next budget is workman's comp.
Workers' comp budget for fiscal 25, we're looking for an increase of $8,910 over the current fiscal year. This increase breaks down. The tax levy portion increase is $13,110. The water division increased $1,820. There was a decrease in the sewer division, $1,720. A small decrease in the light department, $1,300. Total budget request for fiscal 25, $501,910, with $447,110 coming from the tax levy, $9,220 coming from the water enterprise, $5,880 from the sewer enterprise, and $39,700 from the gas and light department.
Very good. So change in budget, just the 1.81, right?
Yes.
Total net. All right. Go ahead. John, is that you again?
John's locked up.
Yep. Ed Bean, you have a thumb up. Is that a question or a thumb up? Thank you.
I guess it's a question. I couldn't really find the hand here anyplace on this panel. No, I was just going to ask what the current workers comp caseload is, and secondly, do you have a safety program in place to minimize or train workers, prevent accidents? Those are just two sort of more programmatic questions rather than budget questions.
John, are you live again? You were frozen for a minute. Seems like you might still be.
He still looks frozen. Yeah, we do training, Ed, and the current, we currently look pretty good. John sent me an email on that. I meant to pop in here. Was it 53,000 for this fiscal year?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
We're having a real good year.
we're having a really good year this year with 53,000 in cases. Not a lot of snow and ice, so it's been helpful.
Good.
So,
Great. Super.
we had you know, we had a year that wasn't so good. You know, there's a 3-year roll on it, as you know, Ed. So we had a year that wasn't so good in there, but you know, this, you just need a couple of cases and this thing goes sideways.
That's right. That's
As you
right.
know.
Yeah, you bet.
Right, and John provided us the workman's comp packet that goes to Steve, PDF document that gives a breakdown of a number of items, the rate changes, and then the The experience modification, 1.08, and the risk adjusted of 1.05. And then he highlighted or somebody ticked off a few items on the lists of the activity from prior periods. And typically some of that falls off after the 3 years. And that helps result in some of the expenses. So this overall budget, like I said, only the 1.8. John, I don't know if you can hear us, but you still seem to be frozen, fortunately.
If we had any questions for John, we could send them to him by email.
Yeah.
If anybody has any.
Do you know why the revenue producing ones were down? Like the revenue, the budget.
The
was at-
transfers?
Yeah, so it looks like the tax levy was.
Yeah.
Tax levy was up 13,000, but the revenue producing departments were down 4,200
Yeah,
in his letter.
when they come in and they do the audit, that they look at the payroll for each division.
Oh, okay.
And depending if there's an open position, someone may be retired.
Right.
So,
Oh, so some
If there's
water and sewer ended up being lower.
right, so,
Okay.
It's a payroll for the comp, right?
exactly.
Okay.
And also maybe some of the rates may have been,
Went
the
up and
individual
down.
categories might have gone down in some of those areas.
Yeah, and that's on a,
That's the state.
what's your job title is?
Yeah,
Your,
job title, yeah.
Oh, I can't remember.
Classification.
Classification, thank you. Yeah.
John wouldn't think it was a meeting if I didn't have some questions.
Yeah, he's very disappointed he's not able to engage. Any other questions? Relatively decent numbers.
Yeah, none.
All right, that's, I think, it for insurance. Is that right?
Yep, that's it. Thank you, John.
John, if you're there, we appreciate you coming as always. And we'll see you at the next meeting. I'm
If you
sure.
can unfreeze yourself, you can get off.
Good luck.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Okay, the next budget,
I'm
sorry, anybody else?
I was gonna say, I think Kathy Cheek is on. Can we jump to retirement?
If the high school burned down now, would we be on the hook for like the whole, like, we've got the stuff for the 250, but if we got $150 million from,
You mean
Insurance
get the
company.
money and not rebuild?
like, could we double count? So like, could we rebuild it essentially to
There's
the
a term
new?
for that, I'm not gonna say that.
I'm just saying,
In a
like,
recorded meeting, but, yeah. That's scary. So who's here? Do you want to jump?
I think retirement, if we could do retirement.
Sure, we'll move to retirement. I'm fine with that. So the group, we're gonna go to the retirement.
Yeah.
And that's a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Received. Go ahead.
All set. The fiscal 25 retirement budget, we're looking at a total increase of $443,757 over the current fiscal year. This increase breaks down into the contributory tax levy portion. The increase is $347,270. For the water, sewer, and light department transfers, there was a total increase of $96,487. This budget is based on a funding schedule voted by the Wakefield Retirement Board, runs through 2036, and is based on a January 2022 valuation. We're currently in the process of doing a new valuation. We're required to do a new one every 2 years. Our funding ratio is approximately 70%. We use an investment return of 7.4%. So the total budget request for fiscal 25 is $8,289,794. It's $6,756,505 coming from the tax levy and $1,553,289 coming from the enterprise transfers.
Pretty good. So, did I read this right? So tax levy increase 5.4?
5.42, yes.
It's actually less than it has been
Yeah.
in previous years.
And there was a number of pages on the spreadsheet. I'm sure
Yeah.
folks realize that. Open up for any questions.
Ed figured out the hand.
Yeah, I finally did. Yeah. Well, I sit on a retirement board, so I gotta ask a question, a couple questions. So, when will we be fully funded? What year?
2036.
Okay,
2036.
okay. And you say there's going to be a new valuation upcoming?
That's correct.
Okay, who do you use for that?
Correct, that's it, correct.
Okay, well, Perrick does it for you. Okay.
Yeah, but Dan also does it.
Dan Sherman does
Dan
it too.
Sherman does it.
Okay, I was just curious. Yeah, yeah.
Dan double checks and he beats
Well,
up.
you've got
Perrick.
somebody who can double check that very well. That's great.
Yes.
Because he does mine. How many disabilities do you process in a given year? I'm just curious, on average.
It all depends. Last year we had a lot, and this year we do have a lot. By a lot, I mean 4. Normally we can go maybe 1 a year on average, but there have been years that we've gone 0 for multiple years, back to back. And then all of a sudden we'll get hit like we did this year with 4.
And you consider 4 a lot. Wow. That's
A lot when you consider our membership, which we only have about 500 active members. And so that is a lot for 500, for at least for Wakefield.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate you answering my questions. Thank you.
John, you're back.
You're muted. There you go.
I'm here. I don't know what happened. Went down.
No worries. We've moved on, as you might imagine. We did review the workman's comp budget, and there was really not a lot of questions. We kicked around a couple of things. You may have heard us or not, but
I didn't.
did you have anything you wanted to add to the, excuse me, as we jump backwards to the comp budget?
Of course.
Go right ahead.
That's okay. Actually, the budget is actually in very good shape. The 3 components of it is experience modification, which is up from 0.99 to 1.13. But it's been offset by rate decreases. And we've had 4 rate changes in 2 years, which is very unusual for the Bureau. And what happens is in January, the Workers' Compensation Bureau puts out proposed rates, and then the division will review them, and then they'll either approve them or not. And most of the time, over the 40 plus years, they approve them. Last 2 years, they have not, and they've decreased them. And last year, the Attorney General got involved. So when that happens, the renewal policy that we have, there's more premium there than we need. And so we've been lucky in that regard. And I've been adding payroll. Never had the flexibility of having money in the budget. It's always been gone. And so I've been taking the money and just adding payroll, especially to the school department and the professional, which is the teachers. So we have plenty of payroll in there in anticipation of their contract. But the experience is up. And I don't know whether you have the experience rating, which would have been page 1. There's 3 pages of information there, but I just bracketed 2 of them, which is really condensed the whole thing. And in 2021 and 22, we had a very, very bad year, and it happens from time to time. We had 6 claims over $50,000. We had 1 over 100. And so our claims that year was about $430,000, which is high for us. Same amount of claims, just a bad year. The year before was fine. Last year was good too. We had $295,000 last year in claims, and $88,000 of that is tied up in a claim where one of our employees was T-boned in a car. He is going to retire at some point, I believe, if he hasn't already. So we put the other carrier on notice to try to recoup the $88,000 we put out, but we can't do that until the claim is closed. If that happens, then I can put in, they call it an aggravated and equity rule application to redo the modification after we get reimbursed. But that order would have to have 100, 300 for us to get all the money back. And the employee also has some rights. But whatever we get back, we'll try working on that. From July 1st of last year until last week on the 19th, when I ran all the loss experience, we only have $58,000 in claims so far this year, which is outstanding. So yeah, we are trending in the right direction. We just had a bad year, and that's really the bottom line of that. But we are below our expected losses, so I'm anticipating our experience mod to start decreasing And like I say, I think our payroll, because we've had rate decreases and more money in the budget, last year there was $6,300 left over. This year there'll be over $14,000 left over. And we've added payroll in anticipation of, some things coming up. So I think it's in very good shape.
All right. Very good. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. So retirement. Were there other questions on the retirement budget?
So, if I may, really a question, not a question, but a comment.
Yes.
So, I would, on the question that Ed had asked, I have asked people to take a look at page 5 of the package on retirement. And what I would point out is we've had a significant growth in active employees from 457 to 496 in the last over the last 4 years. But on the disability, I would note that on accidental disabilities, it's actually been a decrease from 30 to 29, ordinary from 6 down to 4. And so even though we'll have one particular year where we have a number of disablements applied, it doesn't necessarily mean they're granted, but it also means that, obviously we're not growing our total disablements from 36, it went down to 33. So some are dropping off as others come on. So in terms of our disabilities, we're actually doing, I think we're doing pretty well.
Very good. I always look at this sheet, sort of a good news, bad news from a total head count, Dan. Usually what jumps out at me, full-time equivalents, but I guess on this side right there, these people are contributing to the system as well, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. I do find the numbers interesting, just, the head count at a certain point in time and then the head count currently. It continues to grow, which results in the other side of the equation on our cost side, but yep.
I think I have this question every year.
You have a question? Go ahead, Doug.
Fixing the next page, the contributing departments versus the non-contributing departments.
Page 6?
Yeah, page 6.
Yep.
Just help me. So the library, school, police, and fire don't contribute to the current pension plan?
No, they do. It's a bit of a misnomer.
Okay.
At the school level, teachers do not contribute. They have their own system, the state system, mass teachers retirement system. That's why that count is only 115, because we cover the non-teachers, janitors, cafeteria, so forth.
Yeah, I figured that. The non-teacher union types. What about like Doug Lyons, that kind of thing? That's what I was assuming.
Yeah. So another way to think about this is the contributing departments. For example, the housing authority is not part of the town, but they are part of the retirement system. So they contribute to the system, even though we have no control over their budgets or who they hire or anything. But we send a bill to them to pay their, in this case, $159,000. And then we charge back the light, water, and sewer because those are enterprise accounts. So you got to think about it a little differently than contributing as an employee, but contributing as a department. So, it's a little bit of a misnomer, but that's what's going on.
Yeah, and I think it's not every year. Maybe it's every other year that I have.
Yeah, that's true. And then what is it, the PRIT fund, where the money
Correct.
is?
Right. The state, we invest our money with PRIT, Pension Reserves Investment Trust.
Is that 8.74? Is that the latest number on page 8? Is that what that was? Annualized rate of return?
Yeah, that was 2023's rate.
Thank you.
Or actually, the 8.74, that's since inception. That's since 1985.
Right. The running rate. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. 2023 was 11.08.
Any other questions? Kathy, did you have any comments? I didn't mean to cut you off, or if I did cut you off.
I have nothing else, unless there's any more questions.
No more questions. Thank you, Dan and Kathy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good. Move back to the list, animal inspectors.
Animal inspector, we're recommending an increase of $725 over the current fiscal year. The increase is in under contractual services, the professional services line item. We increased that $1,125 or 3%. We decreased the telephone line item by $400 based on usage. Main expenses here is under contractual services, the professional services line item, where we contract out these services for an animal control service and also vet services as needed. Total budget request for fiscal 25 is $41,325.
Good. Questions? No staff. Who manages the needs?
Well,
Is there
they're on call. They're not staff. They're not employees. It's like per contract, so they get paid per call.
Yeah.
We do have an on-call fee for the weekend.
What I mean to say is, does anybody have to give this animal inspector contract oversight or have to manage it at all?
The calls come in through the police
Yeah.
station because they're there all the time.
Right.
And I manage it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm very happy with this. It's not, there's no benefits. It's,
Right.
actually, I have 0 complaints right now regarding,
Right.
service. People call, they show up, and
Police are happy.
the police are happy. Yeah.
Any questions? Next budget.
Last budget is the parking clerk's budget. For fiscal 25, we're actually recommending a decrease of $1,649 over the current fiscal year. Kenny Stake, the former animal control officer, handles the responsibilities in this office. He works 6 hours a week. We just did have someone pass away that worked in this office for quite a while. Mike Narcella, he was the part-time hearing officer. That was the decrease under personal services. This budget does bring in revenue each year. It brings in about $40,000 a year between parking violations and fines that get collected up at the registry of motor vehicles when people are trying to renew their license. If they have outstanding tickets, we flag it, and before they can re-up their license or registration, they have to pay the fines. It's collected by them, and they send the money back to us.
Right.
So total budget request for next year is $10,924.
Is that the one thing the state does for you, as far as sending money like that? They collect for you, and then, when you're renewing your licenses?
Yeah, well, no, they flag it. They flag it. We collect it.
You collect.
And then we have to get it removed from their record.
They send them back to see you.
Yeah, they come to see us, yes. Very, very upset.
Happily.
Usually they come and see me, because I'm always here.
Wait 90 minutes. Wait 90 minutes in line, can't get it renewed.
You haven't lived. Sometimes adult mama's boys send their mother in.
Perfect.
Honest to God. And they get them on the phone, and I love it when they're from out of town. And I said, listen, here are the dates. Here are all the tickets. He said he paid them. I said, well, let's get him on the phone. Oh, yeah, Mom, I didn't pay them. Click. She hung up. Oh, I'll pay him. Okay. Okay.
That must be entertaining.
That was entertaining, yeah.
Any questions? Seeing none. Nice work.
Steve, does that come with the duties as assigned?
That's under the catch-all, right?
Yeah.
Any other thing that's necessary?
All other business.
All other.
All other business.
All right, great. Thank you both. A couple of minutes, meeting minutes to review. The 111 meeting minutes. I'm still working on, so those are not in your packet. I'll have that for the next meeting. The Finance Committee IT Subcommittee meeting. You have those minutes from 12/2. Can I get a motion on the minutes for that subcommittee?
So moved.
That's Brian, thank you. Any second? Evan? Oh, Stefan, thank you. Any comments on the IT budget minutes? Of course, that was last meeting. But There you go. Any other comments, questions? Motion to accept. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. The only other minutes we have is the February 15th full committee meeting minutes. Take a motion.
I'll move to accept, but Steve, I think you want to also add in there that Deputy Chief Calabrese was also in attendance.
Oh, okay, thank you.
But I move to accept.
I'll second. Dan.
Okay, Dan second. Bill, thank you.
As amended, okay? Yep.
As amended, any other dialogue? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay. Committee comments. Brief meeting tonight, that was expected or desired, I guess.
Always desired.
When if I can, when is the school coming in?
School is coming in the you say the 14th for pre-meeting.
So that's the next meeting.
Right, and then
Okay.
and then they're due 4/11
Okay.
with the final budget.
Is the fire department on the next meeting?
So the next meeting is 3/14.
Yes.
And you have fire on there, which wasn't on the original schedule, is that right? DPW, capital articles and town council budget and fire are on the 3/14 meeting.
Town council probably won't be there.
Right.
Well, or won't.
Won't.
Veterans?
Maybe, no, not yet, but
No.
we're getting closer.
Okay.
Okay, so short one tonight, not so short next time with those budgets.
Well, we got fire and DPW, yep. And the DPW subcommittee is meeting tomorrow, just a point of information.
Fire meets next Wednesday.
Go.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other committee comments? Dan?
Yeah, so I just thought I'd let you guys know I've been updating the spreadsheet forecast for the for 25. And based on what we know right now, we're running a deficit of somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000 to $600,000 based on the budgets we know about. And then it gets a little bit worse down the road. So we may have to do some cutting here and as things move along. But right now we're running a sizable deficit.
Good. In the summary, thank you, Dan. The summary of the budgets to date was on Govenda, is that right?
I believe it was.
Yeah, so
Did everybody else get it?
if not, I'll send it or make sure it gets uploaded. So the total budget change run through date, including tonight's meeting, is 4.55%. So that's, again, only the budgets we've seen so far.
I don't think it's, I didn't see it on that day.
Yeah, I didn't, okay, sorry, go ahead.
And that's why we're running a little bit of deficit
Right.
because of the 455 is higher than what we expect.
Yep. Yeah, we're gonna be, it's obvious that the budgets are coming in higher than historical averages, so we'll have to see how it plays out, like you said, Dan. Any other comments? All right, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Evan, Dan,
Always Evan, Kenny.
thank you. Evan, you're always right on top of that. Good man. All those in favor?
All right.
Thank you all for joining. Appreciate the attendance. See you next.